Hello, welcome everyone to another edition of the Chicago Smart Podcast. This is your host, David, for this Friday, May 29th, 2026. Gosh, would I have loved to have done this last week? But just family and just work just took a front seat, specifically family. I'm never gonna be embarrassed to say family always comes first. So never gonna never gonna shy away from spending time with family and doing things with family and just doing life. This is great doing this for you guys. I enjoy it. Obviously, it's fun. I've really enjoyed the last year or so of doing this. The almost year and a half of doing this. It's been fun, but I don't want anybody to think that I shied away from uh, from talking about Cubs losing streak. The last time I was on, I talked about them losing to the doing that series to the Sox and how I felt about all that. But then after that, they proceeded to lose quite a few games. They lost a total of a 10-game losing streak. Would I have loved to come on here and talk more, but I think, you know what? I honestly think it was for the best. Not because I would have came in here and ranted and raved or had nothing of substance to talk about. No, I think it was good because I got to actually step back and let other people produce content on that. Talk about it on the radio, as well as podcasts and other shows, and not because I want to come down on them to their reactions, because their reactions are all valid. Whether I agree with their opinions or not, that's not my point. My point is never to come on here and always be the contrarian and always counter what somebody says, right? That's not what this is about. I do that a lot, yes, but I never want to make it about that. I always want to just make it like if I'm having a conversation with you guys one on one, right? So if it was just you and me sitting across from each other, what we would talk about. And of course, there's not going to be a reaction because there's nobody really here with me. It's just me. And that can change in future episodes. I do plan to have people in here with me and doing this and kind of sort of having a banter back and forth on things, but that's future, right? Again, I want to basically be conscious of my time with my family, but also conscious of who I would bring in. Um, to Even if it's just not here live at my house, right? If they're at their house and I'm here and we can just do this over a remote feed, right? That's fine. But anyways, I want to have some receipts, right? And I don't mean that I'm collecting receipts to come back and if the Cubs somehow go on a crazy winning streak. Right now they've won two in a row, right? Great. Two in a row. Hopefully they go into St. Louis this weekend and take two out of three, right? If not all three. That would be great. Don't know, right? Again, we don't know. We're gonna see. But again, I hope it's for the latter. We can sweep all three, or we could take two out of three, take another series because we split the series with the Pirates. So technically, it wasn't a loss, it wasn't a win, sort of a tie in a way. Um, but I started seeing a lot of responses from all across the board. I'm talking about fans and other content creators and people on the radio, and some of them were head scratchers. Some of them were actually very funny. Some of them were just content, and I appreciated their candor. I appreciated how uh how honest they were with how they felt. And again, when your team goes on a 10-game losing streak, I don't really know how positive you can be. So I don't want to like harp on the people that were super negative and started, poking holes in everything that the manager was doing or the players themselves were doing, because I was doing the same, right? Like, so I wish I could have done this right last week in the midst of that losing streak. But I kind of want to take you guys back from the losing streak until yesterday, right? Or even the two last games against the Pirates, right? I'll kind of go into that a little bit. But I saw some or read some things, not saw, read some things and heard some things that made me chuckle. It made me laugh. And it's something I talked about last year in one of my episodes, and it was about little brother syndrome. And I was specifically talking about the Milwaukee Brewers, how they have this little brother syndrome. Um, and I just started thinking maybe I should call this episode Receipts. So this is what it's going to be. It's going to be receipts. And not because, like I said, that I'm going to come back and say at the end of the year, ha, got you. Remember when you said this? I'll let somebody else do that. I'm sure there's somebody else who's going to do that at the end of the year. And God bless them when they do. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm simply telling you the little brother syndrome that's going on with the White Sox is so funny. It really is. It's almost like, look at us, look at me, look at me. I told you I have no ill will towards the White Sox or their fans. Man, I am glad that they have a team that they can be proud of and they can make it appointment TV to watch and be like, oh my goodness, what disaster am I going to see? Now it's, oh my goodness, is Murakami going to get another home run? Are we going to see the development of Davis Barton even more? Are we going to see this? Are we going to see that? That's great. Those are all wonderful things because I know what that feels like, right? You know, when you see a consistency and you hope that that's what they build is a consistency, but it's just funny. Some of their content creators, the fans are going to be the fans. It's whatever. But the content creator, they're so funny. Like I really wish that I just had the time to save these. Um, but what is it? I think it's Chi-Town Sox fan. I'm sorry, or Chi-Town Mike. I'm sorry. I hope I don't get this guy's handle wrong. I'm gonna try to correct it on the next episode. He's funny. I follow him on X, and I think he is hilarious. I really think he's very funny. He's got some really good points about the White Sox. He's a White Sox fan. He is 10 toes to the ground. He's White Sox man all the way, and that is great. But some of his takes are so funny that I think they're meant to be insulting, but I just find them funny. The Sox broke PCA after that incident he had with that lady. The Sox broke PCA, which I kind of want to dive into that just in a minute about the whole PCA thing. Um, and I know I talked about it before, but I kind of want to elaborate even more since that time. I just thought it was funny. The Sox broke PCA. PCA is a fraud. This and that, and that's fine. I think that's funny. If PCA goes on and turns around the season and has this great second half, we'll say, or build from, we'll say, this Cubs, latest streak, which is again, it's two, right? It's a mini winning streak, right? But they're not, at this point they could have lost, you know, 12 in a row. So now they're in the last 12, they're 2-10. Not the greatest, right? But it's so funny. Oh, the Cubs fans are attacking each other like animals because we seem to want to, collide on different opinions. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could literally go comment by comment, but that's just going to take me too long to see how much Sox fans attack each other. That happens with all fan bases. This is not exclusive to just Cubs, White Sox. Sometimes Cardinals fans, Brewers fans, whatever, right? They attack each other. They have different opinions. That's just human nature. We have differing opinions. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying anything. Just some of these comments are funny. They're so funny. I find them so funny because it's just like, just focus on your team and worry about your team. You can tell me I'm not worrying about the Cubs. They're not even a second even thought in my mind, but they are because if you're continuing to bait them, that means you want the attention. Focus on your team. Your team right now at this moment, as of again this morning, you guys are in a position for the division. I'm not even going to talk about the wild card. And this did not come from a Sox fan. This actually came from a national reporter that they actually said that these are the wild card standings. It's May. This was literally Memorial Day, perhaps. I will not engage in any kind of talk about a wild card or a playoff position at this time. We can start talking about the playoffs and wild card right after all these moves happen after the All Star break, right? And that trade deadline. Not even at the All Star break. At the All Star break, we could say, okay, end of the unofficial first half. This is where everybody is at. Sure. But to engage and talk before the trade deadline of a playoff race or of this and that, yes, you can say, hey, if your team somehow sneaks into first, great. My team is in first place. But to talk about anything or engaging in any kind of talk of a wild card or anything, that's just stupid. It is just stupid talk. Like really, that is just so dumb. So I'm not even gonna go there, right? But again, it's like focus, stay in your lane, right? And I'm not. This is not an indictment to Sox fans only. This is for the Cubs fans too. Stay in your lane. Stop going over there trying to bait them because you want to get a reaction out of them and be like, you see, ghetto Sox fans, or you see stupid yuppie Cubs fans. It's like just stop. It's stupid. Stay in your lane. When it's time to talk trash and we meet up in August, talk all the trash you want. But keep it respectful. I talked about that in the last episode, so I'm not gonna go into into being respectful and kind of just you know, be better, right? But it's just all these comments are just they're so funny because everybody is all of a sudden a a manager, right? I can sit here with my friends and talk about, hey, and even through text or through a group chat, hey, council should do this, or in the case of the White Sox, Will Venable should do this, and blah blah blah. That's fine. That talk has been going on even before social media, when people would just they water cooler talk or just talking with friends or going to a game and say, hey, why is this guy playing and all that? Why don't they start this guy? And that's fine. That's okay. That's just part of being a fan. But when you go to the lanes, when you have a platform that is larger than I have, larger than some content creators, and I'm talking specifically about Mr. David Kaplan. David Kaplan on ESPN 1000 is the biggest meatball. Look, we are Cubs fans, and I know that he doesn't hate the White Sox. He just doesn't. That's not his team. But again, he's covered Chicago sports, so he's hoping for the best for them. But he constantly goes back on what he says, and there's records of him saying these things. And he drives his partners wild. Not only on the radio with Jesse Rogers, he does it with Gordon Whitmire, who, by the way, I'm not a fan of. The guy's such a big Cubs hater because he used to work here in town and wasn't exactly crazy about the times that we've retooled. And that's okay. He is entitled to his opinion, but that guy will cut down the Cubs as much as he possibly can. And he's ready for the Cincinnati Reds. He's a beat writer for the Cincinnati Reds. God bless him. But David Kaplan has him on here because they're friends. It is what it is. I know Ryan McGuffey sometimes comes on there too and gives his opinion. This man, at the beginning of the season, said Craig Counsell was one of the top five managers in Major League Baseball. They had a banter back and forth about that. A week ago, let me tell you what this man does. On his podcast, who has a producer, guess what? I'm doing this from my home. I am the producer. I am the host. I am the guy that does everything, right? And that's not to give myself glory. I'm just simply trying to make my point here. This man has a producer who says, Dave, Gordon, and Ryan, you got your live, right? Or whoever it is that's going to be the host that is going to be talking. All right, go, right? Five, four, three, two, counts them down, one, right? He has a producer. Why? Just almost 2 weeks ago, and I think because I listened to the program last week, so I might be a week behind or 2 weeks behind. Um, I hear his voice and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he's going to welcome us into the program. No, somebody started to record and you hear him and Gordon going back and forth. And I think they're watching one of the games and they're going back and forth. And a lot of language is flying. Whatever. Hey, he can choose to do whatever he wants in this program. I'm not coming down on anybody for cussing. I cuss too. It happens. Sometimes it slips. I try to keep it as clean as possible as I can on here, just so if you're in the car or wherever you're at, you can listen to it with your kids. It's great. It's family friendly, right? And he can choose to do what he wants. So I'm not coming at him for the language. That's up to him. What I'm coming at him for is you got a producer. So you're telling me you don't know that you are live? You don't know that they've already hit that record button. And by the way, before you put it out, don't you check it for any editing mistakes? Right? No. Flying, flying, flying. 5, maybe 7 minutes into a program, this man starts his program. Dude, you've been talking for the last 5 to 7 minutes. We've been hearing your personal conversations. Thank goodness you didn't say anything that's incriminating or bad. I'm not saying the guy's committed any crimes. When I say incriminating, he says something he can't take back, something that you may say in front of your friends, but you won't say it to an audience. No, I'm not talking about anything racist. No, I'm not talking about anything sexual. I'm simply saying be careful what you say because when that mic is live, the internet's undefeated. So be careful what you say. And he didn't say anything that's going to get him thrown off the air or anything like that. But the language just flying back and forth, right? I'm in the car with my kids, but I'm listening to this. I got to lower this, right? And I at this point, my son's already at one of his activities. I'm in there with my youngest son Nathan, who's 9. I'm not saying he's never heard a curse word, right? And at least not for me. Like I try to be as clean mouth as possible around my kids. Sometimes one will slip, and I do apologize. And I know that sometimes they'll hear it and perhaps they might hear it in a movie, perhaps where I didn't think that kind of language would fly, and they might hear it once, right? Hey, don't repeat that, right? Please don't repeat that. That's not okay. right? But besides that, this man then goes on a rant saying, I never said Craig Counsell was a top five manager. Really? Really? Do you really want us to go back and find it? His producer should have found it because they've done it to him on the radio, never done it to him on the podcast. He has that Chicago Cubs recap podcast that he has that he does with Gordon Whitmire that I was talking about. Really? Really? And then goes hard. I mean, he goes hard on his position. Dude, you sound like a meatball. You sound like an idiot. He is one of the reasons why I have this podcast. Is because I got tired of him constantly saying things on the radio and then going back on it and said, I never said that. This is what I said. Stand on your word. You say that you're a man of your word, be a man of your word. And anybody who contradicts him, he gets angry and his voice just gets louder. It's like, just say you were wrong. Period. Say you were wrong. Say it. It's no. I don't think that if you say you're wrong, anybody's going to come into the studio and take you out. Take the Hunger Games, bro. Then he is going to double down on that a few days later and actually has the audacity to say, I tweeted Craig Counsell. This is the lineup you should have for tonight. You know what if I do if I was Craig Counsell? Oh, I know who David Kaplan is. Blocked. Why in all that is good in this world would you send a lineup suggestion to the manager? Talk about it on the radio as much as you can. Talk about it amongst your friends. Go on your podcast and say it. But you think that the manager of the Cubs, regardless of what he's getting paid, right, is going to listen to a suggestion, not because you're a radio guy, got nothing to do with that. But who in the heck are you? You didn't get hired by the Cubs. I can sit here and have this banter back and forth with my friends. Hey, why is Alcantara sitting? Why they bring him up? That's fine. I'm not going to tweet Craig Counsell that. Craig Counsell, one, doesn't know me. But second, you have this humongous platform and you decide to go on the radio and say, hey, this is what I did. If he doesn't listen to me, then he's not a good manager or whatever he said. I'm not going to listen to you. You're a moron. What am I listening to somebody who flips more than a pancake? Like, give me a break. Are you serious right now? Like, this guy is such a homer. Like, he is getting into Hawk Harrelson territory. And let me tell you, I cannot stand Hawk Harrelson. No, I do not wish that man any bad luck or any bad health. I hope that wherever he's at right now playing golf, God bless you, sir. Stay on the golf course. Don't ask this man about baseball anymore. This guy is the biggest, just homer and just completely just biggest idiot I probably have ever heard. And David Kaplan is slipping into that Hawk Harrelson territory. It is okay for you to be a fan. It is okay for sometimes you to have the Lulu suggestions or like just the Lulu thoughts, and that's okay. But then come back and be like, man, I was crazy. I shouldn't have said that. Right? You know what? I was in a state of I'm mad at these Cubs. I'm tired of these Cubs just this and that. Craig, why are you doing this? Craig, why are you doing that? That's fine, right? That's what you're supposed to do. That's your shtick, right? You go on the radio and you question them, right? That's what these radio hosts do, whether it be former players, guys in the media, whatever it is. But that's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of these guys coming on here and trying to tell these managers and these coaches, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? If your influence is so big, why don't you do this? Why don't you call the Cubs and be like, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with Craig Counsell. And I know that Craig Counsell comes onto the score because that's the flagship station for the Cubs. But I don't know if the Cubs would grant you an interview with Craig Counsell. Sit in front of him. Be respectful. Ask him the questions you want to ask him. But don't go on the radio and read him and be like, whoa, I'm cool. I said what everybody else is thinking. Yeah, to me and everybody else listens to your program. But there's no such thing as what I call keyboard warrior, right? Well, now you're a what I call a social media, and maybe that's probably the same thing. In your case, you're a radio warrior, right? You want to go on the radio, bark, 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 bark. You got the resources that I don't have. There'd be questions I'd love to ask Craig Counsell. Do it respectfully because he's not going to sit there while I basically call him every name in the book and say, you're a crap manager, right? Not that I would do that, right? And I'm not saying David Kaplan would do that, but ask him, why aren't you starting these guys? You have the influence, right? Why not? You have the platform. Why not? Right? Maybe you can't get him on the radio, but maybe you could do an interview with him, put him on your podcast. What stops him from reaching out to the Cubs if he has resources there, right? With Jed, right? Oh, him and Jed. Mr. Ricketts, Tom Ricketts, they have a good relationship. But he had Tom Ricketts on not too long ago at the beginning, I believe it was the last season, right during the Cubs convention. He got him in, got him for an interview. They did a video of it. Why not? Right? But that's what I'm talking about. You got these guys on the radio that want to have all these ideas, but you got the resources. Reach out to the team. What's stopping you? No, you know what's stopping you is the fact that Craig Counsell's like, no thanks, I'm not interested. Why? Because if I'm in Craig Counsell's shoes, why the heck would I want to sit across a man who thinks that I'm not built for this job? Whether he's right or wrong, I'm not here to tell you if he's right or wrong. If you don't think he's the right guy for the job, then why were you advocating for him when they fired David Ross? And there could be receipts, as I said, to go back and check when you advocated for saying, I think this is the right move. This is what's going to put the Cubs over the hump, right? And maybe you can come back, man, I wasn't right. Well, a few years ago when they said that that we should have been over the hump and Craig Counsell was the guy, I was wrong, right? Also, too, you're not going to get granted many interviews if you're always criticized. And I'm not saying that you got to sit there and read them prepared questions. Now, if that's the case, where they're not going to let you ask certain things, then I can understand why you may not want this man in front of you. But to this day, I have not heard that anybody asked you to ask Mr. Ricketts, Tom Ricketts, um, prepared questions. Maybe that'll come out later on. Maybe he can't say because he's not allowed to. I don't know, right? But if I have the platform that David Kaplan, David Hall from the Score, Mully, which that forget Mully. Mully's just he's a cat of culture. I'm not even going to go there with with Mully. He's something else. I can't even start with that man. Yeah, you got these guys like Bruce Levine. Like I said, he's probably forgotten more baseball than I've probably seen. He's an older gentleman. He's seen a lot of baseball. He's been around a lot of guys. He gets these opportunities to talk to him. And yeah, do I always agree with opinions? No. But the thing is, the things you say on the radio, you should be able to tell that person when you talk to them, even if it's in private, right? Hey, I had a private conversation with this man. I'm not going to go into details because it was off the record. We had a chat. I told him how I felt. He said how I felt. We went our separate ways. We agreed to disagree. That's not being reported. Again, more the reason why I do this podcast is to basically say, hey, if I had that opportunity, I'd love to get in front of these men and ask them these questions. Give me 10 minutes of your time. 10 minutes of your time. I'm not sure what Crane Castle does when he gets to the park. He makes out the lineup. Does he maybe have some coffee? Does he have lunch, depending, or breakfast, depending on the time of the day? What does he do? What is his routine? If he can give me 10 minutes of his time, I'd love to get in front of him. I'd love to get in front of him. I'd love to get in front of Jed. I'd love to get in front of Mr. Tom Ricketts. He would give me the opportunity. And I would respectfully ask him the questions I want to know. And I would challenge him if I didn't think the answer was appropriate. Doesn't mean that we're going to sit there bantering back and forth on one question. I'd just be like, hey, I disagree with you, and this is why, but we can move on. Or however I could bestly move on politely, right? But you can't go on the radio and pretend to be, oh, I'm this very angry Cubs fan and they need to listen to me and I know the answers. Yet your phone's not ringing asking you any questions, right? Last time I checked, Jed ain't getting on the phone and saying, Dave, what do you think? Can we trade for Tarek Skubal? What do you think we should give up? No, they're not asking you anything. So stay in your lane. That's my point. Is these guys think because they have this platform and they've been watching baseball for so long that they have some sort of influence of what these managers on both sides of the town can do or don't do. If anything, you need to start taking the owners to task. You need to start being more like, or the president of baseball operations as well. What are you going to do? So that is my question now. I'm going to flip it now to the White Sox, right? Let me just do a quick transition. The question needs to start being asked to not only Chris Getz, but also start asking if he'll even talk to you, Jerry Reinsdorf, what are you going to do to supplement this team? Look, maybe you don't see them having World Series aspirations. You're seeing a team on the come up. But are you going to make a move that's going to supplement your team, not for only for this season, but the next and the next after that? Hopefully, we'll have a season next season, right? All I'm simply telling you is that we need to start taking these guys to task and stop asking the manager. People know this for a fact. And I know this for a fact because I talked about this a few podcasts ago. How much influence does the manager really even have nowadays? How do you know that lineup is not coming up from the analytics people and they're just putting out a lineup, right? How much influence do you really have? How much influence does Will Venable and Craig Counsell respectively have over one, those lineups, the move that the organizations make, or lack of moves that they make, right? It's very obvious. A blind Stevie Wonder can see the Cubs are missing some starting pitching. Duh. What are they going for in the July trade deadline? Starting pitching. I don't need to sit here and rant on you and tell you this is what you need right now on May 29th. Because guess what? It's going to happen. If I'm the president of baseball operations of a team or whoever makes those moves, your general manager or whoever makes those moves, if I get on the phone and I call, say, the Marlins, what's it going to cost to get Sandy Alcantara? After the GM or whoever he's making that call to finishes laughing at you, he's going to say, oh, you really want him right now on May 29th? Okay, here's what's going to cost you. He's going to name you several of your top prospects and say, we can have a deal done right now if you send me all these top prospects, right? Do you say okay? You don't say okay. I don't know what I would do at this moment, but I'd probably start off by laughing. Are you serious? You're going to tell me you're going to send me a bag of baseballs and I'm just going to give you Sandy Alcantara. You call the Detroit Tigers. Hey, how's Scubo doing? Hey, how's his recovery? If you guys fall out of contention by, like Bruce Levine said, June 1st, what's it going to cost to get Scubo? After they fall on the floor laughing, crying, after you offer them, I'm sure they're not going to offer them everything. They'll be like, no, we want the house. We're not giving you Tarek Skubal. We're not giving you Freddie Peralta, right? For a bag of baseballs or whoever. If they fall out of contention or they're still not in contention by June 1st, June 1st is Monday, by the way. There is no way. I'm telling you right now, I will come on here next week. If anybody gets traded between now and the next one I do next week, God willing, I could do one next week, right? I will come on here and I will apologize and be like, hey, I was wrong. I didn't see this coming. But you got to understand that whether it's now, June 1st, or the trade deadline, I can guarantee you, you're asking for Scooble, you're asking for Alcantara, you're asking for Freddie Peralta, you're asking for a top of the line rotation starter. You are going to have to pay. Stop telling me these little mock trades where I see two players that are very good top prospects is going to move a Scooble. No way. I'm going to tell you right now that if any of these two prospects that are being named or I've seen being named for a Scooble that are floating around that these little crazy fantasy baseball trades, those are MLB The Show trades, by the way. I'm going to laugh at that GM that's going to trade you Scooble for basically a decent prospect, right? Because again, even if they're not even a top prospect, sometimes these lower numbered or lower level prospects sometimes turn out to be good. Because maybe a change in this or that mechanics, if it's a pitcher or something else with the batter, I'm gonna laugh at you and be like, you got fleeced. There's no way. So I don't know how they keep floating these ideas based on looking at the Cubs minor league system and thinking, yeah, that'll get you Peralta, that'll get you Scooble, that'll get you that's going to get you a Sandy Alcantara. People don't understand that teams would rather hold on to something, even if this person is going to free agency, than give them away for nothing. That's how some of these GMs are. And knowing that as many injuries as there are across Major League Baseball, they're not going to sell you something without hearing from everybody else. You don't think the Dodgers are going to make that same call on Scooble? You don't think the Yankees are? There's a bunch of teams that would make the call for Scooble. I'm even going to go as far as to say, and I don't know this, the White Sox don't make a call, and their offer is better than yours. Are you going to then go on the radio and say, well, the Cubs didn't pull the trigger? Maybe they like that package better, but it's going to cost you. Stop floating these crazy ideas just so you can have content out. That's nuts to me. That is so nuts. Because guess what? People find these receipts online and they come back at you. I won't be one. I maybe say it to some friends. I may even say it in a group chat. I may even say it on here. Maybe. But I don't think I'm going to go that hard to go on social media and tell everybody and their mother how wrong these people are. I'll do it here because this is my platform and I can basically say whatever I want. But it's insane to me that these mock trades that they have make zero sense to me. If these teams are, I mean, of course we would welcome any of those pitchers I just talked about, of course, and give up as little as possible, of course. But it is not reality for me to think that they're going to let somebody go like that, even if it's a rental. It's not going to cost you. For Kyle Tucker, it cost us Cam Smith, and I believe it was Henry Wisniewski. And I don't even know where Wisniewski is right now. We just saw Cam Smith last weekend, or well, yeah, last weekend when the Houston Astros were in town. It's going to cost you. And he was a rental. There was no guarantee we were going to re-sign Kyle Tucker, right? These rentals are going to cost you. Like that's what people don't seem to understand. The move for Edward Cabrera cost us Owen Casey. Maybe Owen Casey's not doing that good right now, but it's his first year. You never know, right? Like these are the things that I don't think that these guys think about as they're typing this. And you know that there's a thing called a send button. So unless you hit that button, your opinion doesn't go out. It just stays in your mind. But these people get stuff out there because they want to get likes, they want to get views, and it's about, going viral or getting views. And it doesn't matter if the comments are all good. Any any attention, negative or positive, is attention. Good or bad, it's attention. You're getting it. You're getting what you want, right? Stephen A. Smith has built an entire career off of that. Everybody knows that, right? But these ideas that I keep hearing on the radio is what keeps fueling me to come back here and tell you guys to don't take stock in what these people say. They can be close to the game. They can have their, and I'm doing with my fingers now, quote unquote, sources. It could be somebody that is basically working both sides. Here, go feed this information over here. I need you to help me go feed this information over here. Not only will I get you be the first on the story, but you're going to help me, right? Because all of a sudden, when these trades happen, did you know that the Cubs could have had this, this, and this, but they only offered this and this and this? Wow, that's convenient. Well, how come we didn't hear about this until months later? That's very convenient, don't you think? It's Stop telling me who your sources are when you don't really have any sources. I can tell you sources tell me, and I'll tell you who the source was because I got it from a third party. I had no sources, right? It could just be stuff that I see online. Those are my sources. Where they got it from, I don't know. So I don't want you to take anything as gospel or anything that is true. It's just take it with a grain of salt. I heard it from somebody else. It's third party information. Do with it what you will, right? But to keep floating this idea that these things are going to happen, not reality. Stop. I deal in reality. I don't deal in rumors and conjecture, right? It's gonna happen. Oh, cool. The Cubs are the number one team for Scooble. Sure, if he wants to come here. I don't know if he has a no trade clause. Are we on that list? Will he want to come here? Will Detroit take what we offer them? Will they take just about anything for a rental and say, we're just going to fleece the Cubs for a bunch of prospects because Scooble's not going to resign with them? We get what they want. We get what we want. They get what they want. And no buyer's remorse, right? No givesies, backsies. It's just, to me, I'm kind of sort of getting tired of that sort of reporting because it's dealing in a lot of rumors, right? It's a game of telephone. We all remember the game of telephone. Somebody tells you something in your ear. By the time it gets to the last kid at the end, it is not what you said. Sometimes they purposely say things wrong so it sounds funny at the end, right? But we're playing a game of telephone using 256 characters, right? Or using our platform on our radio or our podcast, right? To get these sort of things floating about. You know, media like that, I don't know how long that media lasts. Because at some point, you're going to start getting people starting to doubt your credibility. So, what's more important? Having the most likes and most reactions and most comments or your credibility? I'll let those gentlemen decide that. Now, to PCA, what he said, I said it last week, was not okay in any context. For someone, a vendor outside of Wrigley Field, and I laugh because this is just so funny. By the time they come back home to face Milwaukee, which was literally the day after, they had produced a shirt with the words that he said to this woman with some other words, blocked or has an asterisk over it out, but you can figure out what the words say. Outside of Wrigley Field, the vendor, and it's one of those independent vendors. I don't think they work for the Cubs. First of all, how did they produce the shirt so fast? One, within 24 hours. And two, who would buy the shirt? I'm not condemning anybody who did. I don't know who bought the shirt. It was out there. Somebody took a picture of it because they were out by Wrigley Field and these vendors were selling it at their stand with all the other Cubs stuff that they have. Like, if nobody understands the context of what that shirt is about and they see you wearing it, they're going to wonder, what kind of person are you? Right? One, the man's already apologetic about it, right? I feel like he was sincere in his apology. It is what it is. I've talked about it last week. Don't say that any side was right. But now you're going to have a reminder of that shirt. Who's to say that a bunch of these bleacher guys won't buy the shirt and stand outside the bleachers right behind PCA? Great. A reminder of one of your biggest mistakes that you've probably ever made and something you want to forget. Imagine words that you say are put on a t-shirt and you don't ever want to think about those words that you say or an action that you do or whatever it is. Think of the worst moment of your life and now it's printed on a shirt for everybody to wear. But again, it is up to people to police themselves. I can't do that for everybody. I personally would not buy that shirt because it's stupid. It's cashing in on basically on somebody's misery. But that's what we do right here in 2026, right? We cash on people's miseries. That's what it's about, right? There's always a new meme, whether funny or not, new saying, whatever, right? We cash in on people's miseries. We don't love to see people, on the up. We love to see people on the down, right? The White Sox fans or the White Sox fan broke PCA. He deserves it. Blah 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 blah. Somebody should throw a ball upstairs and put his lights out. Yeah, I saw that one. Um, Gosh, there was so many. Some of them were just like pass, not even gonna react. Even if even some of them were funny with the breaking PCA. The one to take out his lights, that's just disgusting. Um, I mean, for goodness sakes, there was even a beef between Bleacher Jeff, which is the guy that sits out in the left field bleachers, and I believe a White Sox fan or something like that, where they were supposed to meet outside the Wiener Circle. The guy never showed up. Bleacher Jeff did, and the guy didn't show up. It's so stupid. I mean, what are we doing now? Really? We're grown-ups and we're challenging each other to fights on social media. And whether they showed up or not and scrapped it, even if they scrapped it out, right? It's still stupid. Come on, really? Is that what we're doing? Fight me. Meet me at the monkey bars after school. It just I'm just it's insane that I'm talking about this on a sports podcast, but it's newsworthy because it's out there, right? It's so stupid that this is what we've come to. But again, that's what society is, right? Society nowadays, and I'm not here to give anybody a lecture. Sorry if this sounds like a lecture, but that's what society is nowadays, right? Let's take a moment and just let's blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. I'm not saying that if somebody has done something where they need to face consequences, we don't need to talk about it. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sometimes people really are genuinely react. We're human beings. We react and that reaction sometimes is not the best. I am guilty of that many times. And there's many regrettable decisions that I've made in life. But thank goodness, by the grace of God, that's not plastered in my face every day. Right. Whether it be umpires who make mistakes, who now they're using the ABS to, oh, this umpire's terrible. I mean, some of them calls, I don't even, I don't even know. They're so close that the ABS, if anything, has helped me gain respect for some of these umpires. I really have because it's like the ones that are egregious are like, ah, man, you missed that. That's bad. Be better, right? Whatever, and they have the little thing in their ear where I guess they're telling them, "Hey, your strike zone's a little wide. Tighten it up, whatever." Right? They have that feedback, which is great. I think that's fantastic for the game, right? But when they're close, and I mean like it's close, like literally just half an inch, the tiniest of a margin that if it hits that corner, it's a strike. But by that much, it's a ball or it's a strike, vice versa, right? You think it's a ball, but it was really a strike. right? By the tiniest of margins. That's amazing, right? That is amazing that this is catching this, that the naked eye, that the human eye cannot see that. I think that's awesome. But they want to go and now they start posting the scorecards for the umpires. This they had this how much accuracy, blah, 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 blah. I'm not interested in any of that, right? At least not now, not with the ABS system. Before, when there was before an ABS system, wow, that's crazy, right? He was really bad. He had a bad day behind the plate. But some of these are just it's people complaining to complain, right? It's people having something to have a beef about, right? Like if we're not complaining, we're not happy, right? And it's stuff like that tends to bleed into sports. And that's I don't want to see that. Me personally as a fan, I don't want to see that, right? I don't want to see these I want to see a positive story. When something positive happens, let's talk about that. All we ever see is negative. But again, that's social media, right? And I'm staying on sports. I know I think it feels like I'm bleeding into other things, social issues and politics. No, I'm literally talking about in sports. Literally, if your entire feed, whether it be Facebook or TikTok or X, Twitter, whatever you may want to call it, if all you really did was follow sport related content, you're going to see it. That's okay. Fans going back and forth, it is what it is, right? But when you start seeing these so called respectable members of the media, they start to go into that territory. It's like, to me, you start to lose credibility with me because you can't go and put your whole, say it with your chest all the way about something and then go back and say, I never said that. Somebody can go back and find these records that you said it. So just say you're wrong. You were wrong. It's okay. No big deal. But you want to stick on these takes. You want to go on the radio and get your partner to make fun of you, like happens with David Kaplan, because he goes so hard on something and then he looks like an idiot and then doesn't apologize for it. If I'm saying something wrong on this podcast or you have a problem with what I'm saying, for the most of you that listen to my program, you guys have my number. You guys have my social media. I allow you guys to comment. If you guys want to comment, go for it. Tell me I'm wrong on something. We can debate it. It's okay. We can agree to disagree. But I'm not going to sit there and tell you if I feel strongly about an opinion and all of a sudden, hey, I was wrong, I'll say I'm wrong, right? It's just, it's starting to become too much where it's like, for me, sports is an escape. I don't want to think about work. I don't want to think about any issues that I'm having. It's an escape for just a little bit, right? And when the team's not playing good, can get frustrated. It can have your frustrations. I just turn the TV off, right? Like, again, I'm not saying that my family can't make me happy or other hobbies that I may have don't make me happy or hanging out with my brothers from church don't make me that's great. These are all good things. I'm not saying that. But sometimes just to be able to watch something that you've loved since you were a little kid and enjoy it. And sometimes it's not that enjoyable because people don't make it enjoyable. You'll hear people, for example, like you're trying to watch a game and they're trying to fill time as much as they can because the Cubs are getting their brains beat in, right? When they're calling that 12 to whatever one game that they were calling, how much more positive things can you say? But when I'm getting the same level of banter between JD and Boog on that Cubs broadcast, whether it's 12-1 us or it's a tight game, and Boog just goes into one of his rants, or he's sitting there and he's trying to flirt with Taylor McGregor. Yeah, he does flirt, by the way. I know a lot of people disagree with that. Trust me, just watch the broadcast. The man's shooting his shot. I don't know if she's oblivious to it, or maybe she just ignores him. Whatever, right? But this man is spending half the time saying things that, as a respectable broadcaster, somebody who's supposed to be a baseball fan is supposed to know. A few days ago, JD says maybe Craig Counsell should start drawing names out of a hat. Boo questions him and says, "Is that really true? I've heard that before, but have you actually ever seen a manager put a lineup out of a hat? If you know anything about baseball, by the way, this is before I was born, so I know Boog should know this." JD says actually Billy Martin did it back in 1977 with the Yankees. They were in a slump. He basically put all their names in a hat, had them draw the names out of the hat, and that's how they would bet. Whether it was Reggie Jackson or Chris Chambliss, whoever was playing for that '77 team, right? Here, pull the names out of the hats. This is where you're gonna bet and see if this will get you guys going. Something different, right? After JD gives him that that information, he moves on to start talking about something else. I'm not even talking about a sponsor, right? It wasn't like, hey, let me just plug ALS because I know they're talking about ALS right now, which is I think is a great thing to talk about, right? He's plugging it. He had a close friend of his, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, who passed away from ALS, and it is a very serious disease. There's nothing wrong with taking just a break from the normal banter to say, hey, let me plug this really quick for ALS, the t-shirts, the donations, when they did the radiothon with Danny Parkins. That's all fine. It wasn't even about that. He just went and skipped to another subject and never acknowledged, hey, you're right, or hey, let me verify that. No, he just went on to another thing. Like, it just feels like Boog is just like a generic announcer. And I know people are like, well, I don't like Alex Cohen. I don't like when other people sub in for him. I actually prefer it because they actually call the game. This man, half the time, is just sitting there giving out antidotes and other things, and he's not talking about the game. He calls the home runs for the Cubs with the same excitement he calls it, and sometimes even a little less than for the opposite team. I get it. He plays for ESPN. I'm sorry, He broadcasts for ESPN, whether it be on the radio or on TV at different times of the year. And I know he mostly does radio for ESPN. Maybe he needs to turn off the ESPN brain off. No, I don't expect him to be Hawk Harrelson levels of fandom, where he's he's quiet when the team is losing, but rah 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 like a cheerleader when the team is winning. No, but please, why don't you call the game like we're there, right? Get us excited. Yeah, have you made some good calls? Yeah, absolutely. But sometimes when we've been playing other teams, he seems like he's ready to jump out of his seat for the other team when they hit a home run or they put us behind or they're getting closer. I get it. You got to call it with some sort of enthusiasm, right? But dial it down a little bit, bro. Last year, he admitted to watching a Mets game when he's supposed to be broadcasting the Cubs game, but he was keeping up with the Mets to see if they'll make the playoffs or not. That's not something you want to admit on air, dude. And JD was like, "You're watching the Mets game?" Yeah, he was watching it. And I'm not saying that the man can't do two things at once, but yeah. My point is, we're getting into that space where it's starting to become you got to plug something every 5 to 10 minutes. Forget about the game. The game is that's just like an afterthought, right? That's what it feels like sometimes when I'm listening to Boo call a game. It's like the team's sort of just an afterthought and doesn't give anything to the broadcast. Like I grew up listening to Steve Stone and Harry Carey as a little kid. Still love listening to Steve Stone because he gives you so many good nuggets. He's talking about the game. Yes, if they're trying out food like he used to do with his former broadcast partner, Jason Benetti, right? That's fine. That's okay. It's a little segment. Hey, I'm trying this new food out, or hey, we got this guest in the booth, and blah 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 blah. That's fine. But call the game. Like I much prefer to even listen to had it around on the radio because as many times as they tell these bad dad jokes, they're still able to call the game. How is that possible that they're able to have their little banter, but Pat's telling you everything that's going on in the game, right? Ron's giving you that description of the game, right? Like we're so busy trying to plug all these things that it's just like you're taken away from the game where it's like I'm watching a giant commercial. Oh, but in between all that, there's a game going on, right? So my point is maybe start having these broadcasters be sound more like broadcasters and less of just a running sponsorship. Yes, you have to promote next homestand. This is the giveaway. Hey, this replay is brought to you by blah blah blah, or this ball strike challenge is brought to you by or sponsored by T-Mobile, right? I cannot imagine being in a booth and trying to do all that, trying to plug all that and call a game. I don't know how they do it. My brain would explode, right? And I get it. That's what they're hired to do. But I just feel like I would like to hear less of the ESPN boog and get more of the hometown guy, right? Somebody who seems to like support the team and is a fan of the team. Like somebody who's going to give you that real just fan experience, right? JD's great. JD does fantastic. I had no problem with when it was Len Casper and him. They did great together. I had no complaints, right? Even after Harry Carey passed away. Steve Stone had different broadcast partners. He had Chip Carey. At one point, I think he called some games with Joe Carter. I don't remember ever having any complaints about them calling games. Right? It's just or even when it was Len and Bob Brenly. No complaints. Like, I don't understand what happened. Is it because they're on marquee? That marquee requires them to have a more, I don't want to use this word because I guess for lack of a better term or lack of a better word at this moment, a corporate sort of guy in that chair versus a actual fan, right? I'm not saying they pulled this guy off the street. This guy obviously has been a broadcaster for a long time. As I said, he does games for ESPN. So that's why he's there, not there a lot more Sundays because he calls the games on the radio for them. That's great. That's all good. But it's just at some point, we the fans need to feel like we're connected to the game, right? Connect us to the game, right? Figure out what's the best way to do what you need to do, but connect us to the game. It's just, it's like when you're telling me stuff that's nonsense to me that I don't really care about, I don't I don't care. I'm not saying to sit there and literally call balls and strikes and be monotone. What I'm asking you is, I could care less about the little pictures you guys put up there of the other broadcasters when something's going on, especially when it's a critical part of the game. If it's like a dead part of the game or your team's getting spanked, then I guess you got to fill some time somewhere, right? You got to keep the broadcast going and keep the viewers watching as much as they don't want to watch a slaughter, right? Even if we're up big, right? You got to find something to talk about, right? Are they going to continue? Whatever, right? I didn't go to broadcast journalism school, so I couldn't tell you the first thing about journalism 101. But I can tell you that's not it, right? I'm looking for the fan experience. I'm not looking for the corporate experience. And Marquis sometimes feels very corporate. I mean, for goodness sakes, the game last week between the Astros and the Cubs was on Apple TV in the afternoon. I watched for a little bit while I was eating my lunch. It was Wayne Randazzo, who used to be a guy on the radio here in Chicago, and he is a Chicago guy, and Dontrell Willis. I don't think I've enjoyed a broadcast more than listening to these men. These men gave me nuggets about both teams. They weren't cheering one team over the other per se because they have to sort of stay neutral because it's a national thing, but man, it was so good. I mean, it was so good. Like it was fantastic. Like I didn't even switch because on Apple TV you could switch to the radio feed, watch the game, but with the radio feed going on, I didn't switch. As much as I love Penn Run, man, Wayne Randazzo and Dontrell Willis were doing such a great job. Like, man, these are good nuggets that were put. I mean, the stat guys were putting up the numbers. They were giving you so much stuff that I was like, wow, okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, that's great. Oh, I didn't know that. Right. These are the things I'm talking about. These are the things I want to see. Right. And, you know, you could kind of feel, to be honest with you, Doncho kind of sort of sometimes favors the Cubs, which is funny to me, but he can't really say anything. Wayne's a little bit more neutral, but he's the Chicago guy. But it's just, I'm not looking for a homer. I'm not looking for somebody to tell me, you know, they're gonna turn it around and blah 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 blah. Be truthful with me. If they're dogging it out there, tell me, hey, they're not playing very good. Steve Stone's very good at that. Steve Stone will tell you when a guy's just not doing well, he gonna be honest with you. That's what got him, in trouble with the Cubs, and that's okay. I appreciated that candor. Be candid. Don't BS me. If I can see with my own two eyes what's going on, don't BS me. Yes, he could turn it around. Look at the back of the baseball card. He's a notorious slow starter, right? It happens, right? Same thing with Ian Happ. The whole banter with Ian Happ. I didn't say I wanted the man gone from the team, but the man don't belong batting in the four hole. I don't know if they're going to bat him in the four hole tonight in St. Louis just because he's had some success in Pittsburgh. He's always had success in Pittsburgh with against the Pirates, and in Cincinnati he's done pretty well. Those are the two parts he hits well the best at. Have him have a week to 10 days, literally 10 games, even or 10 days of consistent production, and then think of moving on gradually, right? Doesn't mean I hate Ian Happ. Stop telling me, well, when he's gone, you're going to miss him. I didn't say that I didn't like the guy. He's just not playing very good right now. But this idea of, well, you got to love him because if the Cubs don't resign him, he's going to end up with Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or somewhere else. He's going to come and kill us. Okay. Is it going to be the Kyle Schwarber debate again? Is that what we're going to do? At the end of the day, Kyle Schwarber knew that he wasn't doing very well at the end of that 2020 season. And it was such a small sample size because it was the COVID shortened season of 60 games. But at that time, I don't think there was a DH. I don't think there was a spot for him. Did Jen make a mistake? Perhaps. I love Kyle Schwarber. That doesn't make me not love Kyle Schwarber. But stop telling me that this man's going to come here and it's going to destroy us, and we have to just put up with these slow, cold slumps. Maybe perhaps it's a collaboration between managers and saying, hey, all due respect, I know you've been here for a while, but I gotta bet you lower. You're killing us, right? And if you're really a team player and a team guy, you're just gonna say, hey, whatever you need, Skip, I'm there, right? No, but these people want to continue to say, hey, they want him out of town. Nobody said that. He can stay here, just don't bat number four, right? You're not a cleanup hitter. You're not there yet. Maybe if you get hotter and you want to ride that hot hand, you want to just drive it in those first couple of innings, sure, right? Carson Kelly's been batting a little bit more consistent. He's not a cleanup hitter. Maybe not, but put him there, right? Split him and Suzuki up. I'm not the only one that said this, by the way. I'm not telling you that ideas are original for me as far as splitting up Happ and Suzuki. Split them up, even if you put a guy in between them, sandwich in between them, split them up, right? There's nothing wrong with that. These are all ideas that we can all share. But for me to go to the lengths that some of these people have gone to try to get these ideas out there, and if you don't listen to our ideas, you don't want to win. Maybe it's not his decision. Did we ever think about that? You're the guys that have all the resources. Go find out how much influence does Craig really have on the lineup he puts out there and the order that they go. You maybe want to ask that. Joe Madden's talked about it. That was one of the reasons why he had a little problem with the way the game was going, was that the front office had a lot to do with what the manager did and then let the manager manage with his gut or do things based not on analytics but also gut, right? I got the numbers, good. Numbers tell me this. My gut tells me something different. I'm going to do a combination of both, or I'm going to ignore this and see what my gut tells me versus what the analytics tell me, right? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? These are the kind of things that are happening in the game where I'm talking about receipts, right? People will come back and see your take and you can't go back, right? So if you're going to stand on something like what I'm talking about now, I'm ready to apologize when and if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm mad enough to say, "Hey, I was wrong, and these are the opinions I stand on." So guys, hopefully the Cubs and the White Sox continue to trend. Good luck to both teams. There's no hate on my side for the South Side. It's just not the team that I cheer for. I hope they keep just going above expectations. Murakami keeps hitting tanks, except when he plays us in August. But hey, good luck to both of them. This is going to be a great weekend. They're both facing their rivals. You got Sox against Tigers at Sox Park, and Cubs are in St. Louis for the weekend. They got two nationally televised games tomorrow on Fox. That's Cubs and Cardinals, and then they'll be on NBC and Peacock on Sunday night for Sunday Night Baseball. Looking forward to both those games. I think the Fox one might be Przinsky, but I'm not sure because I know he usually calls them more the local games and stuff like that. Um, but I know that NBC broadcast is be really good because Benetti's going to be on it. I know JD's going to be on it as well. So I'm just really looking forward to hearing all their insight. All right, guys, God bless. Have a good rest of your week. That's my time.